Let's see. Okay, showing the main screen right now. So you can see the presentation, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get started. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Lino, for organizing this event series of webinars. I think it's a great initiative, and I'm happy to be here for the second time, giving my talk about Beyond Apex 18.1. So before we get into that, I have some more slides. Let's have a look. So about our company, just this one slide. We are mainly a consultancy company doing a lot of individual software development for our clients in Germany, based mainly. We have different branches, and I'm leading a group of about 30 consultants that do Apex development only, and we also do .NET and Java development. And including our freelancers, we have about 260 people employed. So it's quite a good number, I would say. And in Germany, we're actually the leading development partner as it comes to Apex development. So about me, I'm in charge of those Apex consultants, together with a colleague of mine, Oliver Lem, and we do a lot with the Apex. We have started developing with Apex since its inception, which was in the end of 2003, and then we took it to a new level, I would say. So we were also sharing a lot of our knowledge, our experiences, which is what we do still today through our portal, apexmthg.com, but also through various conferences. So if you are able to visit Apex World, Apex Connect, or maybe Kscope or the DOA conference in Nuremberg, in Germany, then we actually can see each other or meet each other personally, which would be great. I'm also very active in the various communities. So in ODTAC, I'm also part of the content committee, making sure that a good program is put in place. But in the DOAC community, I'm also the initiator and conference chair for DOAC Apex Connect. You can have a look at the website there, and this is an Apex only conference, 3-day conference, and this year we had like 350 attendees, which is quite a good number. And I would say that Apex is still taking off. There is still the demand for Apex is getting bigger and bigger. So lots of things to do, and that's a good thing for me, because I made a good business around of that. And we're helping various customers with Apex, and they are quite happy with it. So it's a good technology, and the community around us is great. So what we announced during Kscope is a new website that's called knowledgebase.mthg.com. And if you go over that address, you can type in some keywords, and you can find inline the content. So all our presentations will be put up there. You find like documents in there inline. So it's a great way to explore the knowledge base. It's not only knowledge base from MTAG, so it's not only our content, it's also content from others. So please have a look into that. It's really helpful. And to make Apex projects, you also need great tools in place. Yeah. So developing Apex alone doesn't give you a successful project. So you need some tools in place to streamline the whole development. And we make those tools largely freely available, even though in certain circumstances also as open source. So when we run quickly to them, Visualizer is a tool. If you look into a migration of an Apex project, you would like to know what was all customized in the current application. So if you go from 5.1 to 18.1, you would like to see how much customize has been done. So that gives you an indication of how much work you have ahead if you're actually going to the migration phase. And this visualizer actually gives you a first idea of that, and it's really helpful in these matters. So I would suggest you download that if you're looking at a migration project. To strengthen your quality, Oliver Lem, my colleague, has built a QA plugin, which is freely available on apex.world. The QA plugin is a region plugin, and based on metadata of your existing Apex application, can give you some hints if you have followed the guidelines specific to your project. So to give you an idea of this, let me give you a quick example. You have talked about upfront with the customer that the button should be left aligned, not right aligned. So the developer goes in and he forgets this, and he puts the button right aligned. And in this case, on the bottom of the page, a message will appear saying, hey, you put the button right aligned, not left aligned. So please correct this. So, and this is very great, because even before it goes into the actual testing, the developer sees this notification, of course, will correct this, and then you have a higher quality of application that goes through the actual QA process, which is normally done by other people. We have LogChase as a tool, which is used for client side error logging. So if there are errors being occurred on the client side, those errors are being pushed to the server and then logged in a central table within the Oracle DB. So this is this is very helpful for development, but also in a production environment to proactively look if something goes wrong or not, and then you can proactively handle that. LogChase is also freely available, so you can download it for your Apex environment, and yes, suggest you have a look into that. We also have are busy building a Puppeteer framework for Apex for automated testing. Puppeteer is a JavaScript framework, and it's solely for Chrome, but we are currently investigating the automated test management, and we're talking about front-end tests here, and that will be soon published something around that. And then we have the API generator, which is something you can use, and it's freely available. You can actually use it right now online as a cloud service on our website. And the API generator will give you a package with all the methods in there to load items, to save items, and stuff like that. So if you decide to go from automated fetch process to a manual PL/SQL driven method, then API generator will help you speed up that process, because it will already generate the necessary package for you, which is also page specific. So which is a little bit different approach than what Apex out of the box delivers there. Then you have the page generator. The page generator, if you have like a master data, maybe like 200 pages to actually maintain master data, it takes you a lot of time to set this up. Yeah, so you have a lot of clicking to do for 200 tables to create master data pages, and the Apex page generator can actually generate a ready-to-go application for you with all those 200 pages in there to maintain your master data. So if you have a lot of those tables which need master data management, then the page generator can be a real advantage. And last, we have XLSX and PPTX generator. I will talk to it a little bit later also about that. But if you're looking in a way to have your results in an interactive report being displayed in a native Excel sheet or into PowerPoint, then you can do that by clicking on a button. And if you have installed this generator, then it will all happen from within the database. So you don't need to have separate instances or separate software to be installed. It's just this PSQL package you install, and then you're good to go. All right, so beyond Apex 18.1, we have various topics here I would like to cover. And let me have a look. There was a little problem with my PowerPoint. Let me open it again. Because 18.1 already offers a lot of stuff, but of course there are also various kinds of features that doesn't cover out of the box, and this is something we'd like to address. So let me open it again. So there we have it. So Apex 18.1. So I'm not talking about those AP 18.1 features here. There are a lot of other good presentations and even webinars around that. But I'm talking about the scenarios we encounter in our projects where people need stuff that doesn't come out of the box. Yeah, so these are typical scenarios like put up single sign-on in place, import CSV or XLSX, support for other output channels, doing drill down reporting, continuous integration, automated testing, enhanced tree, workflow possibilities, get a single page application in place, get offline capability in place, or work with WebSockets, which is a feature of HTML5. So those are a lot of topics, and I can only give you a brief overview and some further links you can look into there. But I won't go in depth, because if I would go in depth in each of these topics, then I would need all day for that, and that's not our goal here. So I will give you an overview of that, and if you have any questions specific to that specific topic, even you can ask those questions after the webinar, or even by mail. Contact me by mail, and then I will send you an answer on that. So let's start with the first topic, which is single sign-on. It is actually not an option. Yeah, if you have installed your Apex environment, normally you would pass in your username, password for the authentication on an Apex page, and that information directly goes into the database. So that's not really 100% secure. That means that if you have an administrator working on that machine or a DBA, you could easily find out what kind of credentials were put in, and then you can use that credentials on your behalf. So that's not really a secure way. On the other hand, people are a bit annoyed logging in all the time, so they are all the time smiling when I give them single sign-on that they call the first Apex page and they're already logged in. Yeah, so they don't need to put in their credentials in that way, and that credentials are not, so their account credentials are not being passed to the database anymore. So there are various scenarios in that area. Normally, in like 95% of all use cases where I can speak of, the Apex installation is being done internally, so it runs in your local area network, and also your identity provider is there. So if you want to take a look at my SSO document, I've put in the link over there, but you can also use knowledgebase.mthk.com and then pass in single sign-on, and then you find that document as well integrated. And this document has been going a long way already. It evolved over the years. I've implemented this scenario like over 15 times at various customer places, but I'm aware of a lot of cases around the world where people had used this document to actually implement a single sign-on themselves. And it is actually, for me, this is not an option. So if you're running Apex internally, you should actually go through those steps in that document and to make single sign-on possible. In this case, which is mostly happening at customer side, you have Active Directory, you have a Windows environment. So the Windows client, if you logged on there, you get a Kerberos ticket. And this Kerberos ticket is then being sent to Apache. Apache checks that and then passes an HTTP header variable to Apex, and there's a trust relationship between Apex and Apache. So whatever comes from Apache, that's being taken granted for by Apex, and then an Apex session is being created. So there are a lot of details in that document. I suggest you have a look into that. But you actually should set that up, I would say. So. But there are also two other scenarios you can have. It could be that you have Apex running in the cloud already, but your Active Directory as an identity provider is still on premises. In that case, you can also leave Apache and RDS on site and then redirect that to your cloud instance. That would also work. But it can also be the case, and I did this yesterday, you can have your identity provider in the cloud itself. So this is more the case where you need to open up your Apex instance. Normally your employees are working with the Apex instance. And in this case, you have maybe external people that you won't allow them to be created in Active Directory. But instead, you would like to create them in Azure Active Directory, so the cloud instance of Active Directory. And Apex should actually authenticate against Azure ID. And to get that in place, there is already a nice document from INSAM, which you can use. And since I've made my own experience with it, I will create an own document also as well, and that will soon be published. And it works quite nicely, meaning that you call your Apex application and then you're switched to Azure Active Directory. You put in your credentials in there, username, password, and then you're going to be redirected back to your Apex application where you can, start working. So next topic is CSV or XLSX import. Okay, CSV is there in Apex 18.1, but it wasn't really enhanced. So it's still the basic functionality that was there over years ago. It's called the data load feature, and it supports only 45 columns. But there is a programmatic alternative to that. So Morten Braden has already published nice blogs about this. How to handle CSV with PL/SQL in a programmatic way. So if you're looking into CSV importing, I would suggest to look into that. But it's not the ideal format. Yeah. So CSV is just plain ASCII. Better, of course, is XLSX. I won't regard XLS anymore. So most of the business people are already working with XLSX. But if you're still having a situation where somebody wants to import XLS data, there's also a package for that. I didn't put it on this slide, but just for you to be aware of. But most people are actually using XLSX, and you have a formatting there also in place. If you look at the image on the right down corner, you can see that if you're using CSV data, you have problems with the date format, maybe. The date is interpreted in the wrong way, and also numbers are interpreted in a wrong way. You don't have these problems with XLSX if you import these. So there are actually two options for that. So you can use a PLSQL parser, and there's one being mentioned by Carsten Sarsky, which is one of the Apex developers in the team. He has written in German, but you can use Google to translate for that. A nice blog post about how to use that, and it's based on PL/SQL, and it's a great way to actually import XLSX. And if you're looking at more, I would say, mass data as well, there's also a product you can buy from Dietmar Aust, which is called Opal XE. And yeah, I suggest you have a look at this website, ask for a demo or something like that. But in this case, there's actually a piece running on a Java server on Tomcat, and that does the actual translation. So next, support for other output channels. As we're all aware of, Apex targets mainly the web as its output channel. So you're working in a browser, but most of the projects we do, we get a requirement where some data has to be exported in a different format. So maybe that is a PDF, maybe that's XLSX, DocX, or PPTX. So how to address these things? So I have some recommendations in that area. There are some, if you're looking at, let me say, a cost-free, lightweight, without real support solution, which could fit for just maybe one report for a project. You have the option to actually use the tool from our colleague, Moritz Klein, which is freely available on GitHub. And there are some other ones in the community that also did similar stuff to actually create an XLS, native XLSX document based on what you see in an interactive report. And that also regards all the settings. So if you did a group by in your interactive report or some in your interactive report, then that's will also be respected by the native Excel document. And if you in PDF, if you want a PDF report in place, I would suggest you use a tool from Andreas Weiden, which is available on SourceForge, which is open source, and that actually uses a package from, I believe it was Anton Scheffer, that converts a Jasper reports document into PDF. So if you have then Jasper Studio installed, you can design your document, and then you save that definition as a .gr XML file, and that is being uploaded to the database. And then on the fly, this definition is being converted to PDF by using PL/SQL in the database. So in both cases, you don't need to install any other software. You just need your Apex environment, and you're good to go. But as said, it is limited in functionality. You have limited support or no support. So there is nobody that can actually help you right away. And those software are not not frequently updated. So if you're looking at more like enterprise solutions, there were some alternatives in there. Right now, we say there's only one solution in place, and that's called Apex Office Print from Dimitri Gillis from Apex R&D. That's a great product. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. It costs you some money, but that's okay because you also need support. So it comes with support, and you have a lot of options in there. I suggest you have a look at the video that's listed there, and also the sample app to give you an overview of the possibilities you have with Apex Office Print. And we made good experiences with it in Germany, and I suggest you take a look into that. It is well worth the money, I could say that. So when it comes to drill down reporting, well, you can do a little bit of reporting with Apex using an interactive report, maybe using an interactive grid. but there is something similar as you see in the screenshot, to do drill down, to let an end user, a business user, actually work with the report, decide themselves which kind of data you would like to see. And normally this, in the past, this kind of functionality was being delivered by Oracle Discover and separate product. But right now, there is no solution within Apex to actually get that done. And there's somebody from the community that's called Christian Rokita that has built, based on a JavaScript library, is Apex Smart Pivot solution that makes this management reporting possible. And it loads all the data on your client side, and gives you the possibility similar to Oracle Discover. So have a look at this website. There's a demo on there, and you can actually drill down. And there are some clients that actually need that. As you can see also on the screenshot, you would like to drill down from America to the country, the region, city, maybe even to get some numbers out of there from your business. If you're looking at a cost-free alternative, because Apex Smart Pivot costs you a little bit of money, if you're looking at a cost-free alternative, Martin Bratton has also on his blog posted a way to do that. But on the other hand, of course, you have to do it all yourself. So it will take you some time to get all the things done and to get acquainted with that. So continuous integration, that's kind of a large topic. Yeah, it comes with every Apex project, because for me there's no alternative. Yeah, continuous integration should be done all the time. You have staging to do, from development to test to production, and you like to automate this staging process. So the basis for this is, of course, using Subversion or more Git. Git is getting the main platform more and more. And there you lie in all your changes, you check them in, and then afterwards you can have a Jenkins in place, put some custom scripts in there to actually read out Git, and then push those changes to another environment. What we see also more and more coming is Team Foundation Server from Microsoft, which is also a great project. In our Apex practice, we still use Jenkins, but might be the case that over years we will actually also use Team Foundation Server from Microsoft. Of course, Team Foundation Server costs you a little bit of money. Jenkins is free to use. And it is a kind of a large subject. You can talk days around this topic, continuous integration, and we also give workshops in Germany, helping people getting along, automating things, because a lot of developers are not aware of how to use Subversion, how to use Git, how to use Jira for ticketing purposes, how to use Jenkins to automate the staging process. And it also comes with an Apex project. Yeah? So you have to address these topics to make an Apex project successful and streamline it. So be aware of this. It is an important theme, and I suggest you, if you have a membership of ODTAC, you go to the presentation library of Case Code 18. There's a presentation on there from Oliver Lam about Jenkins meets Apex. So I won't go into any further detail at this stage, but be aware of it, that it is important. And I've still seen occasions at customer side where they are directly working in a production environment as a developer, and it's not the right way to do things. So especially when your development team gets larger. There are more critical applications running on that environment. Then you should have multiple environments, at least development, test, and production. and then you do staging or between those environments. So automated testing, this is something we actually look into today. It is also quite important, but it's more or less underrated. Yeah? Each time when we set up a project and we do for fixed price, we do calculation, nobody wants to pay the testing. Yeah? It's just like so much underrated, but it is actually quite important, yeah? Especially in the long run, to get your at least unit tests in place, to get your business test in place, user acceptance test in place. And when talking about user acceptance tests, so the interface tests, which normally an end user would do, you would like to automate that, because to test an whole application after each change in the application, that's quite cumbersome, and it can take quite a long of time. Depends on your application. So you can use Selenium with Robot for that, and it also supports Jenkins to actually automate also this process. You don't have to do it manual, and I can give you a small demo of that, which I've run on my my laptop. So let me have a look. So here we have like one test script that's called test_apex.robot. And if we have a look at that test script, it looks like this. So you have like open up my local instance of Apex, and then start off. Entering my username, password, put some sleep in there, waits a little bit so we can follow each steps if we demo it. Put in some name in there, and then click on submit, and that's it. So it's more like a small test, but you can, with Robot, you can read it quite nicely, and we use Chrome as our browser to test it with. So let's start off this test. So what's happening right now?
Niels, I only see your main screen, I think.
You see it right now?
Yeah, I see it now. Now it's fine.
Okay, all right. Thanks, because I have 3 screens running. So I will repeat a small test. Let me have a look. So let's open it again. So here's the test where I start off a browser and enter in a username, password for the authentication, select a certain customer, and then change one column in that page, and then make a submit of that page. So let's start it off again. So right now, Google Chrome is started. It goes to that page, logs on, selects the customers page, selects one specific record, updates the last name, and clicks on submit. That's what we've seen. And what automatically now happens is that there are multiple files being created. So I can click on report HTML, and I see it's all green, meaning that the test was successful. And if the test isn't successful, automatically a screenshot is being also created. So you can have a look at the error message that's being presented on the screen. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. Okay. So using Selenium with Robot is just one way to do it. It's still something a developer does, writing those tests. But there are also other good alternatives. If you're looking at a pure Apex way of doing things, creating Selenium scripts in the background, that's ATEF that you can use from Simon Hunt. There are also good presentations from him around this tool, and it's also freely available. We are looking also into Puppeteer, which is mainly used for Chrome testing and is based on JavaScript. And we're also looking into Catalan, which is also a free product you can use. And this is also usable by the business developers or the business development. So there are multiple alternatives, and we're still investigating those and see what was the proper way, because we do see that test cases being built by Excel is still being done by the customer. And yeah, this shouldn't be the case. This having 1,000 test cases in your Excel sheet, and then you go through all of them manually after each version of Apex is something you just don't do. It costs you a lot of time. So next topic is enhanced tree. So we have in 18.1, we have a tree component, but I wouldn't call it an enhanced tree. It is basic capabilities that come with it, and we've actually built based on that or caused by that. We have built a plugin that's called Fancy Tree. It's freely available on apex.world, and it gives you exactly that what's missing today in 18.1. So you can click on the demo, and I will open it up. So this is how it looks like, and you have so much stuff in there. You can do like right click, change salary of somebody. You have like a tree grid in place, so you can click here, expand all, and you see multiple data nicely residing next to your tree. You can do actually drag and drop across trees. So if you want to have James underneath Ford, then you do that. And then you have, yeah, between the trees, you have made a change. There's also master detail tree. So depending on the master node you've clicked on, you get a detail or even a detail. So you can use multiple of those plugins from Fancy Tree on one single page and interact with that. So it's really a great product or tool to use, and yeah, have that in mind. It's freely available. So in the end, of course, it would be nice to see this kind of behavior also natively available in 18.1, but today it's not the case. So I'm sure that they are working on it, but it will take some time. So what definitely would not come in Apex for years, I would say, is workflow, and this can also be a requirement where you can say, okay, and we need to model our processes, our business processes using BPMN. So that's a standard for business processing. And I would like to combine this process, this workflow with Apex and integrate it in there. So you can do that today if you want to. There is an organization, a profit organization in Germany that's called Camunda, and that can give you support with their product Camunda. But there is also a community edition from that, and that's freely available. So there's it's even open source, and it supports all the main standards. You can use that to actually model your BPMN workflows. And there's a JavaScript tool, I believe it was called bpmn.io, which you can use to model your workflows with that. And then in the end, that model definition is then being stored in the database in tables, and you can read those tables out with your Apex environment to determine where you are in your exact workflow. And then you use a small JavaScript library to actually visualize it. So what you can see in the screenshot on the right, you can see that the whole process is being nicely drawn, and you have a blue box in there. That's actually where my current instance is of the workflow, in which step it currently resides in the whole process. So I've done a presentation on during Kscope for several years ago around this topic, and it got a huge attention, and I'm aware of the fact that it is actually something customers need. And in my perspective, Comuna is really the way to go, because it uses also the same infrastructure as Apex does. So you can run it on Tomcat. You can put the metadata in the database. The only thing is that you can actually read out the data from the tables directly if you want to. But if you want to write something in there, you should actually use their web services. So they have RESTful web services in place to actually, to create a new instance of a workflow or to make a new workflow available. And that's the way to do it. So next topic is single page applications. So Apex is not designed to actually support single page applications. So and there are still some customers, of course, especially those Oracle Forms customers that have a page with a huge amount of components on them. If you have a look at the screenshot, this also gives you an idea. So they have like maybe 20 regions on one page. And that's kind of cumbersome in Apex because having 20 regions on one page, that can be quite slow, but it can also be not maintainable anymore. So it takes you a lot of time to get you aware of what this complex page actually does to even go into enhancement of that page. So in that case, I would strongly suggest you have a look into the FOX plugins. And they extend actually the standard behavior of Apex. As an Apex developer, it's the same way working with those plugins as a normal Apex page. But in this case, especially with version 4 of FOX, you can have one transaction being done, although the various components on your single page application are actually multiple Apex pages. So although the end user is presented a very complex page, what is actually being maintained are pieces of that page, and each piece of that page is actually an Apex page in itself. So you can dramatically enhance the maintainability of such pages and still make a single transaction possible, because an end user can make several changes, and then he clicks on a button, save, and then all those changes he's done are then being pushed to the database in one transaction. So this can be one use case for FOX, and especially as said with Oracle Forms customers, they are interested in having that. So offline capability. So if you're looking for situations where you don't have Wi-Fi available, and that's still happening even in Germany. You would expect that in Germany everybody has internet connection, but there are still some scenarios where people are visiting customers where there is no Wi-Fi, there is no 3G network or 4G LTE network available, so they're actually working offline with the application. And as we all know, as Apex developers, there's nothing in Apex to actually to pull this off, to get offline capability in place. So with the newest browsers, there is the feature called service workers, and they can actually cache certain data for you on the browser. And then you have to synchronize that data with your instance as soon as the Wi-Fi connection or your LTE connection is back in place again. Of course, be aware of the fact that this is not trivial. This is something that takes you a lot of time. So Apex is being known as rapid application development platform, low-code approach. So you can get things done very easily and without any program. But if you go into this direction with service workers, you're definitely in a full code situation, yeah, when you're working heavily with JavaScript as well. So, and also from a business perspective, you have to look at things. How do we want to synchronize? Not all data has to be synchronized. Not all data has to be offline. So you have to have a concept in place first, thinking about from a business perspective, what do you want to achieve? What's really needed on your smartphone or on your tablet that's offline? Vincent Monod did a great job by introducing service workers and progressive web apps, presenting that on Kscope, and he has also published a freely available application on GitHub. So that would be your starting point to actually look into that direction if your requirement is offline capability. But as said, it takes you a lot of time. So think of it really carefully. Do you really need it? And if so, which kind of data actually has to be made offline available? So I believe this is the last topic, WebSockets. When you have a lot of automated requests against the Apex server, that's kind of bad. Yeah? So imagine a situation where an Apex developer develops an application, and each 5 seconds he polls, he looks at the Apex server by an AJAX request saying, is there new data there? So now imagine that 10,000 users have opened this application, and those 10,000 users automatically poll the Apex instance every 5 seconds. You can imagine what that will do to the performance of that server. It won't be very nice. Yeah? So we actually had this as a customer situation in Germany where somebody said, oh, that doesn't work that way. So it's more like an architectural problem. And in that case, WebSockets can help you out, because WebSockets is a feature of HTML5 that will enable you to actually push a message from the database as soon as something has changed. So you do an update on a transaction, on certain data in a table, and by using a trigger, a message is being sent out to Node.js that has to be installed on the OADS server. And Node.js has an active connection with the browser. So it pushes then this information to the browser as something happens, as it has changed in the database. And then JavaScript is being active in the browser, making a notification to the end user or doing something else. So the one requirement to get that in place, and it's also a full code solution, of course. It's not something you do declaratively in Apex. You have to install Node.js on the server where OADS normally runs, because OADS is itself not able to actually pull off WebSockets. It's just not possible with Java, because OADS is a Java program. But you can do it with JavaScript, and Node.js is JavaScript running on the server. So to get WebSockets in place, install the Node.js on your server, normally where OADS runs. And then you can have a look into a plugin that a colleague of mine has written, Guy Donato, and that's also freely available. I would strongly also suggest to get in contact with Guy Donato about the details about using this plugin. Because it needs some explanation as well. Yeah? So it's not that trivial to actually set it up and get it up and running in like 1 second. Okay, so that's where we are in the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them right now or afterwards. Send me an email, send me a private message with Twitter. I'm happy to interact with you guys and on the community, and yeah, thanks.
All good, thank you, Niels. Will you listening? I mean, if you have any questions, we'll give you a few minutes to post it in. There's a question box where you can post your questions, and I'm happy to read it to Niels. At the moment, I only say you can be with using Camunda and saying he had the same experience as you, Niels.
Okay.
There is a question coming in right now. I have application built in 5.1.4, which I have exported with X and imported in Apex 18.1, I assume. Running fine, but still some components look like older versions. For example, browse file item and is it okay to migrate application from 5.1.4 to 18.1? Please provide any possible. I think it's more general question, but Niels, are you happy with that one? Or?
Yeah, it's more general question. Yeah, of course you can. That's the way to go. Export application in 5.1.4 and import it in 18.1. If you're not aware of what kind of customization was being done, I would suggest you use our tool, the Apex Visualizer from Oliver Lem. So that will give you a first idea how much customization is being done. Because normally, as a best practice, you would stick with the basic functionality in Apex. So the migration path is very straightforward and without any hassle. But as soon as people start working with CSS snippets in their application, if they are starting using more and more JavaScript on pages, especially divided in certain hidden spots within the page designer, things can get quite cumbersome. Because then after the migration, you will see that some plugins are not working anymore, some CSS snippets are not working anymore, and then you have to take care of that manually. So my advice in general is to stick to the standards as much as possible, use as much as possible PL SQL, stick on the server side and use client side as minimal as possible. And then you have a migration path that's very straightforward. And also be aware of if as soon as you have imported the 5.1.4 application in your 18.1 environment, you have some migration utilities in there. So Apex automatically suggests that, hey, there's a new feature there. Would you like to use that? And would you like me to change your application to actually utilize this new functionality? Because in standard, Apex won't touch your application. So it just migrated one-on-one, and nothing is being changed, which is also good. But yeah, you have this utility in place to actually utilize new features in 18.1.
All good, I think. Well, there's a comment or question more from this. How are we going to make presentation available? Are you going to make it public somewhere, like a slide share somewhere, or? Because
yeah,
I'm just going to fill in on the a session that's recorded. Unfortunately, it can't only to members of Australian Oracle user group. So if you want to check out later on, you'll have to register as a Australian Oracle user group. That's unfortunate at the moment, but yeah, we're going to open it up later. But that's like still to come. Presentation, I'm sure that news already maybe have it available somewhere as well.
I will also publish it on our knowledge base. So give me a few minutes and it will be available on there. Yeah. So just go to our knowledge base, mtrg.com, and just enter in 18.1 in just like a few minutes, and it will be there. I will send the slides over there, because I've made some changes in the slides since my case code presentation. So I would be happy to give you the latest version of that.
Perfect. Niels, I don't have more questions in the moment. So I can only thank you as much as I can for being today with us and sharing your knowledge and experience in Germany and your company as a practice, which is awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much to all who attended my session. And yeah, if you want to see it again, it's being recorded. So as a member, you can actually look into that again if you want to. And as said, I will post the slides in a few minutes. All right. Thank you very much, and then have a nice day.
You too, and thank you with us today. Yes.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Just to know that next session, I'm just going to post this slide here. Next session that we have is with, or not today, sorry, on Tuesday next week is John Watson from Skill Builders. He's going to do a PL SQL. How can you optimize? So hopefully you can be with us next time around. And it's an awesome session by John, and he's so learn for us as developers. So I highly recommend. Other than that, thank you again for being with us. Cheers. Bye.